Hey, so what you're looking at here is the beginning of an ILS approach, only this approach doesn't exist. This is an app that can synthesize instrument approaches, ILS, localizer, VOR, NDB, anywhere you want in space and allow you to practice them. Something I've been playing with, something I've wanted to play with for a long time, and it's got quirks to it. It is fundamentally sound. I've actually used it. I've flown it a bunch in my airplane. I'm working out bugs, things like that. What you're watching right here is a replay of an ILS that I created 10 or 15 miles from my house, actually out over the mountains in the Pacific Northwest. The data that I'm replaying this has actually been synthesized. I've flown the approach a bunch of times, but I wanted something a little more obvious. It's kind of hard to explain, but anyway, this video here is about me explaining what the app is. It's not meant to be a marketing video. I don't have James Earl Jones' voice and all that fun stuff. But so let's walk through what this thing does. When you first open it, you end up with a profile screen, and I've got a whole bunch of profiles in here, and that I've created. And if you don't have one, you can make yourself a new approach by, if you're just flying around and you say, I want to make an ILS here, you can hit ad hoc. And then if you have a Dynon system attached to this, which is, there are some other options. But initially, if you have a Dynon system, you can use your heading knob and your altitude knobs in order to adjust the final approach course and the threshold altitude. It won't let you make a threshold near the ground. You've got to be at least 1,500 feet above ground level for the area, and it does know where the ground is at. And once you're ready, you choose your approach type, and then you tell it set threshold here. And basically, what the app does is it says, this is my threshold at this altitude, and it back generates synthesized data from the approach threshold backwards out to the initial approach fix. If it's an ILS, it's going to end up with a glide slope and a localizer with the real deal sensitivity. If it's a VOR, it's got the same sensitivity. It's going to end up with the VOR fixes. If it's an NDB, it's going to end up with the NDB fixes. I'm going to cancel out of this for the moment. Once you've built some of these, you're going to have them in your user profiles, and you can pick them and fly them anytime you want. The one we're viewing is this ILS Big Lake. I can actually go in here and either create an approach by hand, or I can take an ad hoc approach that I made and I can edit it down. I can choose various approach geometry where I want initial approach fixes, glide slope angles, because they can vary from 2.5 to 6 degrees. The steepest one I've ever flown was, I think, close to 5, which is quite a ride. But generally, they're around 3 degrees. It provides the names of the fixes automatically, and it sticks to the 5-letter naming convention the FAA uses, and decision heights. Then you can also add additional fixes. So if you're going to fly a VOR approach, you can add step down fixes that use cross bearings. And as you see at the bottom, you can update an approach you already have, or you can save it as a new approach too. So this is just an overview. It's not about how to build approaches at the moment. So it does allow you to grab Latin long, like you might want to use SkyVector or something to try to lay out maybe even Google Maps to try to lay out your approach in an area that you just want to set it up in. So that can all be entered in here, and you can name it, change the name. So let's cancel out of this. If you want to make a new approach from scratch while you're on the ground, you can hit new, and it kind of takes us back to the same screen, but now I need to enter all that data. It does provide the approach fix names and things like that, but I have to really build the thing from the ground up. Not what this video is about. ILS practice is kind of unique in that you can choose a localizer, a glide slope, or what I call flat ILS. And if I do that, in this case, it's kind of cool what it's doing right now. It doesn't have real data, so you can kind of ignore the numbers. But what a flat ILS does is it allows you to choose normal, medium, or narrow sensitivity for the localizer and or glide slope. And narrow sensitivity is that really touchy area when you're a couple miles from the runway, where a lot of people start chasing needles and they don't ever get a chance to get much practice at that. Medium, somewhere in between. Normal means it feels like it does whenever you're out at the initial intercept. You know, things are pretty wide and pretty slow. And then you use your knobs on the Dynon to adjust your course, and you can use the knobs on the Dynon to adjust the bearing if you're on the HSI. Now, if I want to switch to VOR, you can see I just have a standard VOR. It's fixed, rotating card, but now you're going to have to use the heading knob on your Dynon to adjust the OBS. Depending. But what's cool about the flat ILS is it allows you to fly an ILS, practicing these different sensitivities for miles if you have room in front of you, and you can practice tracking the localizer and the glide slope. It's effectively going to be like a mathematical roller coaster, and it'll have you operating the power and the controls and building that muscle memory and the reaction time the same way you would need to. And it feels pretty real. It's really a great opportunity to get to try some stuff that you don't normally get a lot of time to do. So you can record all this. If you're flying along, you say you got a mountain in front of me, I want to change directions and keep practicing. You can just hit new course and it resets everything from exactly where you're at and you start over again. So let's jump out of that. So we're flying the ILS from Big Lake, and you can see we're about to if you look at the bottom of the screen, you have the profile view, and this is built for every approach. You make an approach, it's going to generate a profile view, a small plan view if I tap, a large plan view, and if I tap again, I get the approach corridor on the top showing where I'm at relative to the localizer and or final approach course if it's a non-precision approach. You can see the dots moving. That's my airplane. Localizer's slightly off. And glide slope is coming in. There again, you can change that over and make it a HSI if you want. That's how fancy you want to be. Now you notice in the upper left corner there's two buttons. One says wary, one says golf. If you notice, those are the initial approach fix and the final approach fix. And if I tap one of those, I get a bearing needle. So I'm just crossing golfs right now. The needle just swapped around. But if I had more fixes, they would be listed up here too, and I could, if it's a VOR approach, I can actually use the bearing fixes to practice cross fix identification for step down fixes and things like that. And it shows you how far you are and what bearing you are from each individual thing. If we click wary, we can see that now the orange needle points straight forward because wary is straight in front of us. If you're confused, simply look down at the upper profile view and you can see exactly where it is. And of course, as we cross wary, we expect that needle to flip around, and that's station passage. I have not added in marker sounds and things like that. I'm kicking around the idea of doing that. The whole purpose of this thing is really about building procedural muscle memory and getting control of the aircraft without dealing with air traffic control and all the other things, and being able to do it anywhere. And also, I want to make it's already in the works, and I don't have a demo to show you, but I have what I call plow row or corn row approaches, where it strings together approaches, so you can come right off of one approach. It'll set you right up on another one. It doesn't have to be the same type. You can go from an ILS to an NDB to a VOR. It can be different, and it'll just 180 course reversal get you out towards the fix, your initial approach fix, and then you start the new approach, and then you just keep doing that, weaving back and forth in an area. And it's a lot of fun to play with in the airplane, and of course in the real thing you're also dealing with wind and things like that. Right now it's tied to Dynon. I do have a Bluetooth module that I made that allows you to use this. It actually has a sensitive baro sensor and allows you to use this as two knobs, one OBS, one for trimming the altitude, since it's inside the cockpit. You don't have outside static pressure. You have to be able to trim the altitude to make things track properly. But it allows you to use this in a plane that doesn't have a glass cockpit as well. I've just started testing that. It does work, but it's got some quirks. So you're by no means seeing a finished product, but you can record and play back your flights. Go back and take a look, see how you did, and it's also it's probably not super useful to the final user. Right now, we do have a debug screen available. It shows the GPS data coming in from. In this case, I have my Dynon emulators running, but if you were using the GPS data from the tablet, or then of course that would be the data that you're seeing. AdHar's data would not be there if you didn't have Dynon stream, and see the network status. That's not really something anybody needs to worry about except for me, but don't know if this would be in the final product. It's not really necessary, but it's useful during development mostly. So that is Approach Trainer. I don't have a lot more to say about it right now. It's modifying it continuously. It's complicated. It's a pile of math, and I'm working through little bugs I find here and there. Really trying to. It's been years since I flew instruments seriously, so I'm having to dig back into my own muscle memory and go, this feels about right. But once I get it good enough, I'll get some real pilots to play with it. That is that, and I'm going to shut this thing down. And just as a reminder, this is a development project. This isn't meant to be a marketing or sales pitch, because it's be the crappiest one in the world. I'm definitely never going to make money with videos, but it's also a good way for me to have to talk through things and be able to show you what I got.